Hello and welcome to the 2017 KyyOpen. We have a beautiful card here with Vaino Mäkelä, Greg Barsby, HIrsimäki, and of course myself, Jeremy Koling. Coming up to hole 1 here, Vaino is the lead at 12 under par, 430 feet, plays 30 feet uphill, but this hole is an absolute crush. I feel like you have to throw it at least 500 feet accurately to be even close to the pin. Fortunately for Vaino, he's got a ton of distance and a bunch of accuracy. Really great up-and-coming player in Finland. And look at this shot. I mean, this is just absolutely how you do it right there. To even have a look on this hole is saying so much. Great start there from Vaino with the lead. And obviously here we have Greg Barsby. Smaller in stature, but a ton of power and charisma to boot. And he's going for a little bit of a wider route and catches the edge of that fairway there. It really, at that distance, how far you have to throw it, that gap really closes in on you. You have to really choose to go over the top if you have the power, or you have to lace a perfect flip-up shot. And here we have the ageless wonder, HIrsimäki, who has a bit of an early release and a bad kickoff to the left. And I'm throwing a destroyer here. And I'm going to try to go over the top anhyzer, get over those trees, and try to hold the line. If I can, then perhaps I can get up there and get a look. And didn't quite clear the tops of the trees. Fortunately, it kicked through to a pretty decent position to get up and down. A little bit breezy up there above the trees, so maybe not the greatest shot choice in the world. And Yanni is not going to be 100% pleased with that effort. Not in the greatest place after the tee shot, but he's got a long look at his par putt. And Barsby probably with a bit of a run there, only a couple strokes behind our leader, Vaino. And a bit of a run there as well, just over the top. Let's see if Yanni can save his par. Oh, almost draws medal. Great bid from that effort, from that distance. And I think that Vaino got a bit unlucky here. It looked like he was going to be right at the top of the hill and maybe just kind of cut rolled back down a little bit. And you can't see this here, but that would actually hit the cameraman and potentially could have gone another 15 to 20 feet. Actually, I should probably use a metric system here. It probably would have gone another 5 meters. But nonetheless, he drills the comeback putt. It's a difficult putt to start off with. You're kind of exposed. It's wide open. The wind is blowing a little bit harder than you can probably see here in the video, but it's always difficult. First hole, getting those nerves out of the way, and a solid par putt from Vaino. Hole 2, we have a 118-meter hole, and it goes down about the same amount of distance as the first hole went up, so kind of the mirror image of the previous hole, just a little bit shorter. Players are most likely going to go with a big wide hyzer here. Oh, and Vaino does not get over the pine trees. Clips him, and it's going to leave him well short, pretty much out of birdie range. And Barsby's in a really tough place. That wall of bushes there creates a bunker that pretty makes it impossible to putt through, and birdie chance is pretty much gone right there. And I believe I'm throwing a Firebird here. And a nice result there, and it keeps going, and then, yeah, you gotta like that stuff. That's always fun.
Yeah! The real bull.
Yeah, I got the bulls out of there. Yanni with a bit of it looked like a bit of an early release, but it actually turned out to be pretty okay. Maybe he's not throwing something that's that overstable. I'm not sure exactly what disc he was going with there, but again, he's going to be just on the other side of that bunker, which is going to make it pretty difficult to putt for birdie. And Vino makes a really good run from now, about 75, 80 feet. And that's really all you can do from there. A little flick Anheuser shot. Nice shot from Barsby. And that's a great birdie to pick up. Great putt from outside the circle there. Nice way to collect himself after the bogey on the first hole. And a little tap-in putt there for Greg. Nicely done from Vino getting up and down. And those are the birdie putts we all live for right there. So after two, Vino still has his two-stroke lead over Greg. And 3 strokes over Yanni and myself. And to hole 3, a very technical hole. It's so different from the first 2 holes. You really have to throw... It's so difficult to throw anything besides a flex forehand here.
Get in. Go in. Get in.
And very much like that out of my hand. A little flex shot with the Sexton Firebird. One thing I really love about this hole is you see that wall, that man-made wall on the left side of the fairway. It really forces you to go down a direct path. And Yanni's such a good forehand player. The standstill deliver with a little mid-range. Perfect shot. He's parked. And Vino's going to go with the backhand putter here. He's going to try to throw something that flips up and just stays straight. And that's about as good as you can really do with the backhand. I mean, you can get a little bit closer if you throw something that's really understable, but getting out there to circle's edge with the backhand is a really impressive feat. And that's uncharacteristic on Barsby. He's such a good forehand player, especially through the woods. And he shows it right there with a perfect execution on his approach shot. That'll be a par for Barsby. And that looked like such a good, confident release, just a bit off to the left side. But a good bid there for birdie from Vino. And birdie putts from myself and Yanni. And just formality there for Vino and Barsby as we head to hole 4. Now we have a 3-way tie for second place. Vino still has a 2-stroke lead, though. And hole 4 is so tricky. You have this bunker here on the left side. The woods on the left side are incredibly tough to get through, very thick. The right side is OB. It's incredibly long, and you have to throw a very forced-over Anheuser with a stable driver. And it seems to be windy on this hole every single time you play it. And that's a great shot from Yanni right there. And this is something the kid is really good at. He's really good with Anheuser angle with drivers, and didn't quite get his driver to turn over that time, but that's something that the kid has proven time and time again in his young career that he's really good at. And Barsby goes for the super force over here. It's heading out towards OB, but Heiser's back in bounds. He's safe. He's going to have a somewhat long look at birdie, but... And I'm going with a bit of a tricky shot, a stand-up flick roller, and I hit one of the only trees in the way. I wasn't pleased with that effort, but it was really the tee shot that got me in trouble, not the second shot. And a nice little approach shot there from Vino, and not a bad effort from about 55 or so straddle. And here's Barsby's putt for birdie. Oh, and just low. That low ceiling made it really difficult to get it as high as he needed to, especially with the wind. And you see Yanni dealing with the same issue, just a bit low. So bogey for myself and pars for the other three guys. Moving on to the very difficult par 4, hole 5. First par 4 on the course. And you're going to see in a moment why it's so difficult. You have a hedge that you have to go over after you drive through a tiny gap off the tee. It's 709 feet. OB all left, OB long and right. And if you don't get it in bounds, you have to go to a pretty tricky drop zone. And Yanni has got it inbounds, but he's not on the other side of the hedges like he'd like to be. And this is beautiful. Oh, and he has unfortunately just pushed the right side a bit further right than he'd like. But it's so difficult to see that landing zone exactly the way you want to because it's all blind. You just really have to trust the disc and trust the distance. And Barsby has outdriven the landing zone as well. It's going to be a very tricky shot from there. And I believe that is in bounds on the left side. And that was a slip on my end. I was not trying to throw it as far left as that was, but I got lucky to get over the hedge and stay in bounds. And Yanni just has to play a safe shot. And Greg goes with an incredibly tricky shot here. He's going with like a spike Anheuser roller just to go over the trees and crash somewhere near the green. I mean, he had nothing from where he was, and to be able to land there was incredible. And that was an 11-time eagle. Very fortunate to land where I was. I had a straight shot at the pin and executed a really nice shot to get up there for putt for birdie. And you can see the tricky part of not being on the fairway here. If you don't have a direct line straight to the basket, it is so difficult to be able to get one up to the green. And a nice standstill deliver there from Yanni. Ooh, and Vino with a great attempt there. Just a little bit low. This is amazing that Barsby's even close to the basket and just misses his putt off to the right. He wishes he had that again, but I can't emphasize how fortunate he is to be as close to the basket as he was there after his tee shot landed where it did. So birdie for myself and par for the other three gentlemen. And once again, we have a three-way tie for second place, and Vino has just parred the first 5 holes. Maintaining his true stroke lead, going to hole 6, a 318-foot, 97-meter, kind of difficult green. There's a slope down to the right side of the basket, and if you're coming in forehand, it's really important to make sure you don't hit that hillside and skip way down. And one way to do that is to hit the brick base like I did there, fortunately. But as you can see here from Yanni, he is right side of the basket, and as soon as it skips way down the hill. He's pushing the OB line, but I believe he is still in bounds. And Vino with a really beautiful shot. Grass is pretty thick here, but he still manages to skip within about 6 or 7 meters from the basket. And Greg hangs this out a little bit too long, and he comes up well short. He's still looking at the basket, but it's a pretty tricky putt here. And that has got away from him, and he is going to be around circle's edge for his comeback putt for par. Not what you'd like, especially when you're a forehand player like Greg is. This is a hole you feel like you must get, and to take a bogey now, that's going to really challenge his mental fortitude. We'll see what he has to come back from that. And Vino on the board with his first birdie. Solid putt there. And Greg doesn't seem to be too distraught about the bogey. Not happy about it, I'm sure. And that shot right there actually earned me a bag for a CTP, which is awesome. Finland is awesome with CTPs. They do a great job of getting out some incredible prizes, so hats off to the entire country of Finland. I appreciate that. On to hole 7, another very difficult par 4. Long, very important to stay keep the disc in bounds. I'm actually electing to go with a thumber here just because I know I can get a good bit of distance, and generally it'll just sit right down and be in the middle of the fairway. This one, unfortunately, rolled way left, and I believe it sat down just barely in bounds. But this is the play right here, ladies and gentlemen. The Anheuser flex with a driver so that it hits this hillside and lands flat is the way to go. Also, if you have a good forehand like Yanni does, it's another great shot to go against the hillside. However, Yanni has turned it over too much, and it has either kicked a tree or fell down to the ground, but either way, he is out of bounds and will have to proceed to the drop zone. And Greg with a beautiful forehand here. Skips up, lands right in the middle. It's important to get a good bit of distance on the tee shot because the second shot is very long. And again, the OB pinches towards the basket, makes it very difficult to get your second shot into the green area. And Yanni with a pretty nice shot there. Not quite next to the basket by any means, but whoops. That was just as bad as it could possibly get. My foot, not to make excuses, but I do remember my foot stepping into a hole, and I just turned completely sideways while I threw it straight out of bounds. I got to move up the fairway about 45 to 50 feet from there, and Vino puts his second shot pretty close to the green, and Greg throws a phenomenal second shot. That is an incredible birdie right there. One of the toughest holes in the course. And that is a mortar. Doing what mortars do right there, sitting near the green. And Vino's going to give it a run. Not really much of one, but nonetheless, he's going to be parked for his par. And Yanni needs to hit this to save his par. And comes up just a bit short. Awesome birdie there from Greg. Way to bounce back after the bogey on the previous hole where bogey is really not acceptable. And you see the mix has gone up to Yanni's 3-stroke lead over Greg and myself and 4 over Yanni. Or Vino, excuse me. Vino has a 4-stroke lead. Hole 8, you gotta love this course design. Straight shot, you want to throw it about maybe 100 meters, maybe 85 to 100 meters or so to land exactly where Greg is. As you can see, the hole goes to the left, 90 degrees, straight up the hill. And if you do not land in that landing zone, getting a birdie is next to impossible. And yeah, Vino is throwing another great shot there. and so close to being what I wanted, but the kickoff left makes it almost impossible to get the birdie from there. Really no angle. And Yanni's hit the one tree that really is the one that you got to beat. If you beat that tree, you're probably going to be in a pretty decent spot. And as you can see here, there's just nothing you can do to be aggressive. He lays up to the landing zone. And I found a bit of a line here to go for a flick roller. And decent execution. I'm about 50 feet, I believe, left for birdie. And Vino with a really clean release with his putter. Maybe catches the edge of that tree and kicks off to the left. But he's got a putt. And a good shot there from Greg. As you can see, that's just the picture-perfect landing zone. And look at this. Oh, so close. Yanni is so accurate with that standstill deliver. Oh, just off to the right for Vino. Nice little comeback putt for par for Yanni there. It's a little bit tricky with the tree in the way. And birdie putt for Greg. That's 2 in a row there. So the two Finns finish the hole at even par, and the two Americans go 2 under on a very challenging hole. Another example of incredible course design from Juho Rantalaiho, one of my favorite Finns, one of my favorite names to say in the world. And on to hole 9. Once again, we have a very challenging par 4, very demanding that you throw the exact distance. Almost every player, whether you have a forehand or not, is going to be throwing a forehand on this hole. It's really the best way to attack this hole. And a nice result there from Barsby. The tricky part, besides hitting the gap initially, is being able to land in that landing zone. The best way to do it that I've seen is by going high and just hoping that you get through everything. Sometimes you do, and you land in a great spot, and sometimes you land there. So it really is kind of a crapshoot, but the main objective, obviously, is just get through this gap, and hopefully you land in a good spot. They've also built a retaining wall at the bottom of the hill, so if you do throw a backhand putter, you can slide it into that wall, and that's a decent place to be as well. What happens a lot if you hit that fairway is you go too far, and too far is just as bad as being too short. And you see here, there's just nothing. And that's a really smart play. When you have the lead, give yourself a chance. Put the disc in the middle of the fairway and set yourself up to give yourself a chance to save par. And it looks like he will be suffering his first bogey of the round most likely, unless he throws it in from there. And Greg with a line drive approach shot. That has to be an eagle. Absolutely parked there for his 3rd straight birdie now on 3 very difficult holes. 7, 8, 9. If you get out of there with 2 birdies, you feel great. But to get all 3 is a impressive feat for sure. And you can kind of see what you're dealing with when you're in the woods there. Not much. I like the release there. You see a little bit of frustration. I thought that it might slide in its back a little bit further. But, yeah, and there you go. If you're too far, you're dealing with a lot of cabbage. And a really nice recovery shot, actually. He's going to have himself maybe 8 or 9 meters left for his par. And kind of an attempt there, but mostly just a layup. And this is Vino's putt for par. Let's see if he can get away from the bad kick he got on that third shot. Just a little bit off to the right there, but bogey is not too bad on this hole. People can take big numbers. If you get caught up early in this hole, you can take 5, 6, 7s, no problem. And Yanni's going to have to settle for a bogey. Par for myself and a bogey for Vino, and Greg taps in the lone birdie. Like I said, an incredible stretch there. Birdie, birdie, birdie on 7, 8, 9. Rarely done. Now he is tied for the lead. 1 stroke ahead of myself, and Vino and Greg have 4 strokes on Yanni now. That's the end of the front 9. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Be sure to check out the very exciting finish at the 2017 KyyOpen at the Lautkoski Disc Golf Course.